Hello, it's me, Pikachu, and this is my master, Satoshi. Thank you for the introduction, Pikachu. Yes, that's correct. I'm Satoshi Nakamoto, the Japanese banker and inventor of Bitcoin. When was the last time you saw Dr. Craig Stephen Wright with Pikachu, huh? Never! Checkmate. Checkmate. Welcome to the third and final episode of the past, present, and future of the blockchain. To episode 3, Unleashing Bitcoin. I've named this episode that because this year we're going to deploy a Layer 1 token protocol on the Bitcoin blockchain, which enables us to trigger events and automation on the base layer for the very first time. The Bolt token protocol, or Bitcoin's original Layer 1 token protocol, utilizes a proof by mathematical induction to afford transactions on the network, automatic proof of token legitimacy without needing external network requests to secondary or tertiary databases relying upon the blockchain database entries alone. Like a lightning bolt, authenticity of its tokens can be validated instantly in a flash, no matter how many times they've been transacted. It's working today and will go live on mainnet April 7th, 2026, unlike BTC's inferior off-chain Layer 2 Lightning Network, which is a comedy of errors and designed by clowns. The back to Genesis problem effectively surrounds the question, how can we trust that a Bitcoin UTXO has come from a specific issuer, like the Bank of Japan, without asking them in an off-chain extra network request? The Bolt protocol solves this problem by utilizing multiple UTXOs and token rule enforcement, which includes the revisiting of an ancestral transaction proving it existed, closing the induction loop, and rendering counterfeiting of the tokens impossible. The Bolt protocol avoids the necessity to include a full transaction history in every transaction, which creates a linear transaction size growth problem by providing an SPV or simple payment verification friendly proof using two UTXOs from two linked token transactions. We call these the commit and settle transactions. The token UTXO is subsidized by a proof UTXO left over to guarantee the provenance of the token's ancestry. In the previous 2 videos, I explained how they fucked the blockchain up for the world and began Ponzi scheming by printing money with inferior blockchain designs, and how we restored the unmolested original Bitcoin blockchain protocol with a large decentralized global effort and team, and I introduced the push context or verify context technique. I forgot to mention how transaction IDs are calculated. So they're simply the result of a double SHA-256 operation on the full transaction data, which produces a 32-byte transaction identifier. This is important because those 32 bytes of the transaction ID form the first part of a transaction outpoint, with the trailing 4 bytes the little endian number representation of the transaction output index. And we use these 36-byte outpoints to validate against the context's hash pre-votes value to require outputs to be spent together. Xiaowei Liu, the creator of the useful script compiler called the Back to Genesis problem, the $1 trillion problem. Here he is with known Ponzi schemer Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy, discussing the re-enabling of the opcode opcat for BTC. Even if they did enable that opcode, which they need to perform push context validation on BTC due to their associated corruption of the original Bitcoin blockchain protocol setting innovative progress back decades, I'm not granting them permission to use Bolt. Unfortunately for Saylor, I am living proof that he is defrauding his customers much like the rest of the crypto scam industry by calling and selling BTC as Bitcoin. I predict he's going to prison for repeat offending in the near future. The original Bitcoin, that is BSV, can operate at 1 to 8 million transactions per second today with Terranode. I meant 10 to 80 million. And that number will rise rapidly as soon as the Internet Protocol version 6 issues are circumvented. BTC Segwit Scamcoin can continue operating at just a nanoscopic 7 transactions per second, and their clown user base can continue waiting for their Layer 2 Lightning Network. Actual Bitcoin now has a Layer 1 token protocol. Interestingly enough, similar to Vitalik Buterin, Dr. Craig Wright made a declaration on X.com on the 3rd of January just past also. He talked about how politicians need to stop rescuing banks whose criminally directed failed gambles require bailouts. I guess a stop Dr. Wrong clock is Dr. Right, twice a day, as they say. Bolt is not feasible on Bitcoin Cash either, another fork of Bitcoin, because some French cunt named Amaury Sachet restricted the scalability of the chain by mandating that transactions and blocks are reordered by ID alphanumerically, discarding the valuable temporal information of the order they arrive to be mined, so it's a clusterfuck to validate. Imagine a settle transaction before a commit transaction. It just doesn't work. This is him. I did not make this meme, but I thank the person who did. Bravo. I've made it my YouTube profile picture, and it's been my Slack one ever since he took the soup. Regarding the script context blob, I forgot to mention that since it contains the script code of the locking script that validates the context itself, we can use that to build the next output locking scripts and include the verify context function so that we can create a chain of transaction outputs that conform to whatever rule set we desire, e.g. perpetually enforced locking scripts. I did not demonstrate these concepts very well in the last video, so here's a working example containing them. We're going to concatenate a simple pay-to-pub key hash with a split context operation, splitting the context into its constituent values so that you can understand how we can use them to enforce rules about the currently processing transaction. Then we'll verify it for good measure. For security reasons, the given input script's context value always needs to be validated. Here's the setup. We will simulate a locking and subsequent unlocking transaction which require validated script context aspects to be specific for a demonstration. The first transaction contains the demo locking output alongside a normal pub key hash output. I will append the script context related logical requirements to a mere pay to pub key hash for ownership illustration, but I will skip over for tempo. We will spend both outputs in the unlocking transaction as neighboring inputs, and that will be enforced. We will step through the unlocking of the demo contract. First, the context is pushed onto the stack, followed by the signature and pub key required to prove ownership and validated by opt checksig. We duplicate the context, which remains on the stack, and save the copy onto the alt stack. Then we run the split context function, which subdivides it into its constituent components, no matter how long the variable length script code is. I have put some no operations after the macro, so we can quickly jump to that location. As you can see, the context has been split and its subcomponents now reside in memory to be inspected to see and enforce what is happening in the transaction currently being executed. First, we enforce the requirement that this input's output is being unlocked at the same time as the pub key hash output from the very same transaction, and we do so as follows. We pick the context hash prevout's value into focus on the stack and then take the context's out point. Then we split the 32-byte transaction ID off it, push the 8 bytes of the second output index and concatenate them together. Now we have the serialized out points, we double SHA-256 it, and finally compare it to the hash prevout's value and verify it is correct. In this manner, we have enforced the spending of two outputs together like a logical gate and operation. They have to be spent together, otherwise you're dust. Now, this demo is just a one-shot context operation. It's not perpetual, but you can envisage how it could become so. The script code that's currently running is available to the program itself, in a recursive sense. Look, we can see that this script begins with up-dup up-hash160 and ends with the important verify context up-checksig. Since the program has access to itself, it can require itself to perpetuate itself forever. And this is what bulb tokens can do. Since we've solved the back-genesis problem, we can run any computational program on the Bitcoin blockchain, even a simulation of life itself, as long as someone pays for it, of course. But in a future world of purported abundance, you just wouldn't know. So we've got the 8-byte 1 Satoshi on the stack to enforce that this transaction spans into an output containing that value. We can start cutting up the script code to enforce the locking script. In this case, it will be a simple pub key hash output, but in a bolt token case, as long as it's given context, it will perpetuate itself forever. First, we split the starting 3 bytes off the script code, which is equal to the start of a pay-to-pub key hash output, and we clear the stack of the rest. Then we push a very specific pub key hash into the program. We combine op equal verify and op checksig as the footer and combine everything into the output script. Then we run another macro which calculates and prepends the script length and combine everything into the serialized output's value. Pick the context hash output's value into focus and run a comparative equal verify on the values, which passes, confirming that the transaction is giving 1 Satoshi to that very special pub key hash. Then we do something which should have been done at the start to avoid processing anything further if the context is not correct. We verify that everything happening at this moment in time within this transaction is true. When I thought I had finalized the account balance-based version of the Bolt protocol back in 2024, I took a break and decided to try Hackett, as the counterfeitable money system is as worthless as BTC or Ethereum's transaction throughput. Quite unfortunately, I succeeded to much dismay. I theoretically had found a backdoor which would enable people to man-in-the-middle print these monetary instruments at will. It wasn't until after my friend David and Ciara's wedding, when the priest from Ballygal, Dublin, told the congregation that he hoped God would provide the solution to all our problems, that I managed to close the threat vector and secure it. As I drove home from the wedding reception, that remark spurred much thought on the protocol, which had taken roughly 4 years to design and implement, including the development of an entirely new compiled language and toolkit. That night, in bed at 1 a.m, the solution came to me. When rebuilding an ancestral token transaction, a fake token input is impossible to forge if and only if the context is verified in the unlocking script. My invention was solid because I knew the long-planned Chronicle update was coming soon, TM, and we would be able to do it with arbitrary logic re-allowed in unlocking script. The Chronicle retrograde then suffered another slight delay, as when I inspected what Connor Murray and the team at the Bitcoin Association were doing, I found it to be incorrect. So I had to steer them back on course to enable these new token building blocks and restore the original blockchain protocol correct. While they were re-enabling the opcode so that we could run push context operation in the unlocking programs, crucially, they were overlooking the correct restoration of the script code contents of the SIGHASH pre-image for context. So I requested, with little pushback, that it be fixed properly. This aspect is quite complex, involving confusing opcode separator opcode. But suffice to say, Bolt needed proof that a push context related check sig was performed in the unlocking script, and that is what was eventually restored. Because one cannot ever forge a settled transaction in the Bolt protocol, we can create UTXOs which can be triggered by token events. Several configurations of the division of responsibilities are possible, but in the simplest manner, we do not even need to extend the logic of the basic static value NFT, which is now fully, perhaps even over-tested and ready. What we can do is publish a transaction which requires a full settled transaction from a specific Genesis out point or issuer pub key, or both, to be made in order to redeem it. This contract can be unlocked by passing a full bold settled transaction which meets the specified criteria as an argument, and the published contract then parses it, ensures that it is a valid protocol token, and secondarily checks that an input from the subscribing settled transaction is being unlocked simultaneously, thus proving it actually existed and occurred. In order for the subscriber to trigger the event, they can make a change output in a settled transaction containing a script which unlocks only if it is beside the published redeemable contract output, or be recovered after some time. Both scripts require one another using the context hash prevouts field checking mechanism. Here's the kicker. No ECDSA signatures are required to unlock either output locking scripts, so the change of output amount can be claimed by anybody who constructs and publishes the event triggering transaction. Furthermore, published contracts are not limited to a maximum amount of outputs, as they do not require the perpetual enforcement logic. They hook alongside tokens without having to carry around the full protocol, albeit they are aware of the structure. In this manner, with the back to Genesis problem solved by Bolt, we can finally turn the blockchain into an economic virtual machine. Except, unlike modern computers, the processes are driven by economic profit, not electrons. I could go on at length here about the cryptocurrency Ponzi scheme, the original Bitcoin blockchain, some of its interesting embedded contents, or the Bolt protocol, but if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments underneath this video. Perhaps in April I will publish an openly redeemable bug bounty on the Bitcoin blockchain for the world to attempt to unlock it with a counterfeited token. Personally, I would not waste my time attempting this, but good luck. I am not Jesus, Dr. Wright.
You have to protect users from making mistakes.
I am, however, Satoshi Nakamoto.